Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric and our continuing series where we review every single Capcom CPS, CP System Dash, CPS2, and CPS3 game ever made. Today we're taking a look at Street Fighter Alpha 2. And you've already seen my review of the original Street Fighter Alpha, and I said that while that was a super competent, really interesting, and fun game, that Street Fighter Alpha 2 and beyond is when the series really came into its own, and that is definitely true here. Now I will at the end of the video be showing you a little bit of footage from Street Fighter 02 Alpha. In Japan this is Street Fighter 0, in the US it's Street Fighter Alpha, but 02 Alpha adds some characters and changes some costumes. It's considered the quintessential release of the game, but I find it to be so incredibly hard at normal versus Street Fighter Alpha 2 that I don't play it that much. Before we get too far involved though, if you do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down there as well. But you can see, compared to Street Fighter Alpha, one of my issues with that game was, of course, it was a new series, so you get a much smaller roster. Now in Alpha 2, the roster is not quite doubled, but getting pretty close to it. So now we have a lot more characters that we're playing as, or have the option to. But the number one complaint I had about Alpha, which is completely fixed in Alpha 2 and beyond, was the background art. I thought it was very stale and plain in the original Alpha. In Alpha 2, it is absolutely outstanding. We have so much going on in the background. It's so ornate. There's characters from different Capcom fighting game franchises in the background there. And I get it, it's a fighting game. Why do I care so much about the backgrounds? I really don't have to, but it's just the type of thing that I love. I've always thought Capcom made maybe the second best backgrounds compared to SNK. Leave me a comment if you disagree. I'm sure a lot of people will, but I just love SNK, so I'm going to say it out loud. But it's just incredible. Now, getting right into the mechanics of this is just a more better balanced version of Alpha 2, and the developers of this game mentioned that when they were working on it, they were just trying to balance it out and make an expanded version of Alpha, and they've definitely 100% achieved that here. Now, I know there's a lot of debate between people, and I've seen a lot of forum threads and conversations about it as to whether or not Street Fighter Alpha 2 or Alpha 3 is technically the better or more accomplished game. I would say that they're both so good and so accomplished that really just pick and choose which one you want to play. If you want the most complete roster, go with Alpha 3. If you want to play Alpha 2, by all means, do that as well. But you'll see here as I'm playing as M. Bison, everything about this just clicks with me. I love the turbo speed. I love the button inputs. All the strikes really feel impactful. When you're playing this game well, it really feels like an absolute great time. Not sure what that elephant in the background is doing over there, but that's a conversation for another day. But again, this is just more of a good thing, and Alpha's always been my favorite series. Now, I've played Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5, and I've enjoyed those for what they are. Street Fighter 2, I'm not the biggest fan of that franchise, but Alpha, or Zero, is just one of my favorites of all time. And I'm really not sure what's going on in this stage here, and it gets a little bit even more interesting, and I'll point it out. I mean, these guys are just using the urinal while watching a fight. I think there was a fight breaking out in the bathroom. I might not stay there and continue to use the urinal, but hey, that's just to me. But everything about this is just a really fun time. Clearly Capcom was experimenting with the Street Fighter formula when they got to the original Alpha, but this game feels like they've perfected the concept of what Alpha was supposed to be and really hammered down and nailed what they were going for. Because here against Birdie, everything feels really good playing as Bison. All the moves are connecting. There's zero lag in the gameplay. I'm playing how I think I should be. Now there's a guy just standing there waiting to use the bathroom as well. Just checking out a bathroom street fight, no big deal. People do it all the time, I'm sure. But I've just always enjoyed Alpha 2, and I would say that depending on what day of the week you ask me, maybe I would say that this is slightly the better of the two Alpha games. But you can't go wrong with 2 or 3. The bathroom door opened up back there, and I don't know what's going on. I mean, you do you, buddy. Everyone should be happy, but Capcom definitely put some really interesting background things in this game. I mean, good for them. Who cares whatsoever? But I'm just surprised. I don't know if the console version actually kept that individual background element in. I'd be curious to see if they had or not. But as good as this game is mechanically, it also has an absolutely spectacular soundtrack. So go ahead and listen for like 30-45 seconds to the music and enjoy this gigantic Fujitsu CRT in the background. I'm sure with the retro game market the way it is, that CRT is probably worth like $500 now. But be right back. Just absolutely great music, and the entire Alpha franchise has some really incredible music, but I love Chun-Li's stage here as well. It's somewhere in mainland China, obviously, and you have all these different workers biking by, and it's just so much stuff going on, almost to the point where it can be slightly distracting, but I don't mind all that much, even if I was just completely whiffing my specials on this stage, and that is something interesting in Alpha 2. Because I've always felt like with Street Fighter 2, it was really a pull-off specials game. The only time you're going to get any decent damage on your opponent is if you're using a special move. Now, while that still is the goal in something like Alpha 2, I feel like just hitting your opponent with normal strikes is a viable play mechanic if you're not able to do a special move. You're still going to be taking enough of their life bar off just playing by that. I mean, I got 3 strikes in there, and I took maybe 15-20% of Jen's life bar away, and I do appreciate that because sometimes you just can't pull the special move off. Obviously, I was able to there, but it didn't take that much more life off than the kind of stick and poke gameplay that I'm showing now, and I do appreciate that Capcom allowed for that depth in the game because, like I said, sometimes I feel like Street Fighter 2 could just end up being well, if you're not hitting specials every single time, your odds of actually beating your opponent are going to be almost 0. But I love the stage as well. It's got so much depth in it. You have those fake rays of light coming down from the sky, and even the special attack screen. It's got a lot of ornate color to it. It's not as good as what SNK was doing back then, but I keep reminding you guys I'm an SNK fanboy. Just leave comments down below. But again, an absolutely spectacular background. You got a Lucky Cat on this big rig truck with that Japanese painting on there. There's just so many cool things going on in Alpha 2. I can't help but wish I could just, stop and look at the backgrounds without actually having to play the game, because I just love this type of pixel art. I always have. It's been one of those things that'll always really make me smile, and I feel like that's why from Street Fighter Alpha 2 on, those are the games you should play, just because Alpha doesn't give us as much of that great background. But a little more soundtrack for you guys because it is quite good, and I'll be right back.
Round 1, fight!
Now, if you do want to play this game, you have a ton of good options. I'm playing this on the Mr. FPGA Hotego cores, and it plays absolutely spectacularly. I also own an original B board of this for my Capcom CPS 2 setup. I would avoid the PlayStation 2 release because that is not arcade perfect, and I feel like there's a little bit too much lag in the control input. But this is available digitally on all modern consoles, and from what I have read, it seems to be 100% arcade accurate. I haven't purchased them because I own an original arcade board and I have no need, but if you've never checked this game out before, there's tons of different ways to do it, and I can't recommend enough that you do so. But don't forget, at the beginning of the video, I said that there was a Japanese-only re-release of that, and this is Street Fighter 02 Alpha, or Street Fighter Alpha 2 Zero. I'm not even sure how they like to give the name. It changes a few things around. It adds some characters. You'll see here on the character selection screen, we have some different characters, and some of them are going to be in slightly different costumes. But I will say, compared to Street Fighter Alpha 2, this game is incredibly hard, or maybe it's just me. This is my first match in the first round, and I'm just going to get absolutely decimated compared to playing Alpha 2. I'm not sure what they did with the difficulty, but you can see I didn't even get a strike in. My opponent just totally railroaded me. So just play Alpha 2 unless you're incredible at this franchise. But if you have any questions or comments, so leave them down below. I love chatting with you guys. I'll be back next Wednesday with another episode in the CPS2 review series. But like I said, I don't know what's going on with 02 Alpha here, but it is absolutely brutal. I'm done for. Bye-bye.